Good evening, sir. I am Srividya Makapati, a junior club coordinator at Systemix, the IT club of IIFT. I welcome you to TechnoCast, which is a technical podcast series where industry experts share their insights and experiences on various thriving technologies shaping our world today and the intersection they have with the management world. We are thrilled to have you for our first podcast episode in the TechnoCast series. So, you've graduated from NMIMS Mumbai with an MBA in finance, and prior to that, you worked at Infosys as a systems engineer, right? So, how did your MBA upskill you and equip you with the knowledge and exposure that is required to bridge the gap between the IT industry and management?
I think if you look at MBA, what it does is it broadens your horizon. So how would I put it is, I mean, like when I was in Infosys, I used to work on regular projects without even understanding how those projects were impacting the client or impacting the company as a whole, right? But now the perspective has become a lot more broader. I mean, like, I can just fine tune a few examples. Right now, I look into pricing sometimes even when you're entering into new markets. So when we do that, we try to understand what's best for the company. And when we try to understand what's best for the company, we need to understand the entire scenario. It could be macroeconomic, it could be inflation, it could be forex, it could be competition, it could be what your product brings through in terms of value add, which the competitors don't, right? So there are a whole lot set of variables that you need to work through. I didn't have an understanding prior to MBA. MBA gave me that tool set to, probably broaden my horizon, broaden my thinking. And that's what's helping me in my career today. Retrospectively, if I look at it, I think more than the technical aspect, it's more about the mindset which MBA develops for you to progress in your career. Because in an MBA, you will be, after post MBA, rather, I would say, you would be taking on managerial roles, probably, if you work hard enough and you have, the right path forward, you might be even leading a company someday. And, leading a company doesn't mean that you need to be, skilled on one particular skill set. It has to be a broad horizon, which means that you need to develop that perspective.
Next question would be, how do you see the intersection of finance and technology influencing the landscape of IT consulting in the next few years?
Let me start with my experience, right? So when I started my career after my MBA, right, I used to work only on Excel. When I went into my new company, which is also, which is a very big company, it's one of the biggest companies in India. Um, I saw the advent of Tableau and Power BI, right? And now when I am into ServiceNow, I see that Tableau and Power BI has become table stakes, right? And probably 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the line, technology such as these might even become obsolete. So the point is, from a finance perspective, a CFO would want to know, one, how are my controls in place? CFO would also want to know how is my revenue aligning, how is my cost aligning, how is my P&L aligning, right? So you look at technology and it's keeping on evolving in terms of letting the finance stakeholders and even the CEO or the CFOs or the CXOs of the world to understand and have and more be a leading indicator rather than a lagging indicator. So that's where the mix of technology and finance is. And more so, there's a lot of regulatory, regulatory mechanism that one company has to go through because of SOX audit and stuff like that. So technology keeps on evolving in helping you keep pace with that. Just talking on the finance aspect, I mean, we connect with finance more on P&L accounting, stuff like that. I mean, today you look at the Flipkarts of the world, you look at the Mintras of the world, they do a lot of ML to try to understand who's my next potential customer. Now that might not directly align to finance, but it's more about the top line, right? So the point is, this will keep on evolving. Right now, ChatGPT is a new word. ChatGPT is actually incrementally adding a lot of value to the customers, which means that, from a technology perspective, vendors who can, or rather I would put it, product companies who can, look into those kind of technology evolve, they definitely will be the one to look out in the future. And again, it's an ever evolving. I mean, you can look at blockchain right now. Blockchain was something which came 4 or 5 years ago, and right now It's still evolving, but there are certain aspects of blockchain which is actually very much, which may become the next thing in the finance world as well. So the point is, technology keeps on evolving. We need to keep abreast in terms of what's happening.
So, how important is it for managers in technology driven fields to maintain a balance between their technical, conceptual understanding, technical skills, and managerial responsibilities? So, if it would be better if you could possibly share some real life experiences for this question.
So let me give you an example, and you'll probably be able to relate to that. So for the first part of the question, right? Managers need to understand how the technology work. There's no doubt about that, but they do not need to understand in depth of the understanding, right? So what I mean here is, you need to understand what a machine learning model does. You need to have people working under you who understand how the machine learning model works. But the base criteria of probably making the machine learning model uh, in alignment to what you are looking forward to, that's something which a manager needs to decide on. So when you move into a managerial position, the technical aspect will count, but it's more about the thought perspective that you bring along in terms of how do I use that technology for the benefit of my company, right? How do you add value? I mean, for example, if you really ask me, in a B2B kind of segment, you don't have much data, so and it's all situation based. You cannot apply a lot of regression models. But say when you are into a B2C kind of situation where you are the Zomatos of the world, the Flipkarts of the world, a lot of machine learning algorithms can work through because you have a lot of data. But then just working through will not suffice. An optimal model to ensure that you are adding the right kind of value to the company and at the same time managing the cost. So that's where a manager needs to think through. He need not need to understand the integrities of the model or integrities of the technology, but what the manager needs to understand is how a technology which is there in the market can help me provide more value share for my company. So in short, if you really ask me, you need to understand, but you do not need to get in detail. It's more about the thought process, that the critical thinking that you bring along to help technology let your company be in the next stage of the life cycle.
Okay, sure.